Separated by 85 miles, Madison and Milwaukee are the two largest cities in Wisconsin. This is a distance that can easily be covered by car via a 1.5-hour trip on I-94, a journey that speeds by all of the sights and sounds between these two great Midwestern cities. This video details the journey from Madison to Milwaukee via bicycle, a route in which over 75% of the ride is on recreational trails through farmland, small Wisconsin towns, and in peaceful natural settings. It's day 4 of my Chicago to Madison to Milwaukee to Chicago bike tour. And I'm headed to Milwaukee, Wisconsin from Madison. It's going to be 80 miles, mostly on trails. It'll be a beautiful day for riding. My day started on the east side of Madison on the morning of the ride to Milwaukee. I had spent the previous day going all over the capital city while spectating and shooting video of the Ironman Wisconsin Triathlon. The Wisconsin Ironman course provides a great overview of the defining features of Madison. The swim portion is in Lake Monona, right beneath Monona Terrace. This building was designed in 1938 by Frank Lloyd Wright. However, the construction did not begin until 1995. Its gleaming white exterior fits in well with its surroundings, and the helixes on both ends give the building a futuristic look. The run portion of the Ironman goes along State Street into downtown Madison, the main pedestrian artery of the city, and home to countless restaurants, bars, and shops. It continues through the University of Wisconsin campus, which is home to over 50,000 students during the school year. The campus is on the opposite end of State Street from the Capitol Dome and along the banks of the second major lake in Madison, Lake Monona. The race concludes in the shadows of the Madison Capitol Dome. This dome is the tallest dome of any state capitol and a mere 4 feet shorter than the dome of the U.S. Capitol. It is made entirely of granite and is the largest granite dome in the world. Madison is a town with a geography that is very conducive to recreational activity. There are abundant opportunities to engage with the water that seems ever present, and seemingly unlimited jogging and bicycle paths extending in every direction from the city center. The Capital City Trail is the trail that takes the ride east of Madison and in the direction of Milwaukee. This 17-mile trail begins west of Madison and meanders its way into the city and along the shores of Lake Monona before extending west through a handful of Madison neighborhoods, all of which highlight the eclectic vibe of this town with community gardens, bungalow-style homes, and many independently owned shops. You know, Madison's a real incredible biking town. There's all sorts of trails that go in every direction from the city. People are out biking, zipping around town. If you've never been, it's worth checking out. The 12-mile Lake Loop Trail around Lake Monona intersects with the Capital City Trail as the ride heads west. This is just one example of the many trails in Madison that collectively total over 200 miles in length. The Capital City Trail ends after about 5 miles at Cottage Grove Street. This is a well-trafficked road that runs to the city of Cottage Grove and conveniently provides either a bike lane or a wide shoulder on which to ride, both of which keep cars at a comfortable distance. Upon reaching Cottage Grove's Main Street, a right turn is necessary in order to head south a short way to the trailhead of the Glacial Drumlin Trail. I made it to Cottage Grove. It was about 8 miles. I'm at the start of the Glacial Drumlin State Trail. So, just gonna head west on it. There's a coffee shop right next to it, so picked myself up a coffee. A little unconventional, but I think I'm gonna ride and enjoy my morning cup of joe. This 52-mile trail runs through 3 counties between Cottage Grove and Waukesha. It is situated on the former railbed of the Chicago and Northwestern Railway that connected Madison to Milwaukee. The railway was established in 1859 and was in operation until the 1970s. The Glacial Drumlin Trail was opened in 1986 and features 39 miles of crushed limestone trail and 13 miles of asphalt surface. Prior to embarking on the trail, it is required that cyclists pay a $5 daily use fee that can be paid by scanning a QR code at the trailhead. The Glacial Drumlin Trail is named for the unique glacial features in the area formed during the last ice age. Central and eastern Wisconsin were covered in glaciers over 10,000 years ago, which generally smoothed over the land, leaving behind a flat terrain with kettle lakes, moraines, and wetlands. In addition to these flat features, drumlins dot the landscape. These are elongated teardrop-shaped hills that sit in clusters and were formed from glacial deposits. The highest concentration of these glacial features are located on the western end of the trail, shortly after leaving Cottage Grove. These flat features lie in stark contrast to western Wisconsin, which is known as the driftless region. This region was not covered in glaciers and was subsequently not flattened. The area in western Wisconsin is now known for its hilly terrain, bluffs, and varied topography.
This trail is just great. It's so relaxing. The weather is so nice. You know, I was just talking to my sister, and I told her that what I was doing. She's like, "Are you having fun?" And you know, biking, it's not necessarily fun all the time. It's like life. You know, there's parts that are fun, but like in totality, like it's pretty cool. Trying out new things, being out in the weather, seeing new places, accomplishing something. You know, so it's not fun all the time, but there are moments that are very euphoric. Keeps me doing it.
The Glacial Drumlin Trail is very consistently maintained and in a similar setting for the first 39 miles, which is exclusively on a crushed gravel surface. This uniformity is broken up periodically when going through the heart of small towns. The town of Deerfield contains a charming main street replete with murals, shops, and some bike amenities. It is worth getting off the trail and riding down these streets to get a brief sense of these small towns. The Glacial Drumlin Trail is generally simple to follow, while being a continuous path for nearly all of its 52 miles. The one exception is when crossing Highway 26 just north of Jefferson. This section requires a prolonged crossing of the highway and some road riding before linking back up with the trail after about 1.5 miles. The town of Dousman, on the eastern edge of the trail, provides another opportunity to take a break and get a sense of a small Wisconsin town. Dousman's Main Street has a sense of small-town Americana, a few places to eat, and even a well-equipped bike shop. Dousman is also the point at which the trail switches from crushed gravel to asphalt. As such, the pedaling becomes markedly easier during the 13 miles between Dousman and Waukesha. I may have been imagining it, however, there appeared to be a slight downhill grade, causing my speed throughout this stretch to increase significantly. The Glacial Drumlin Trail comes to an unceremonious end when crossing the Fox River on the western end of Waukesha. This is the same Fox River that flows south into Illinois and is the river on which Illinois towns such as Elgin, Geneva, and Aurora are situated. There are a few parks along each side of the Fox River with trails that can be followed into the downtown area of Waukesha.
So I made it to Waukesha. Unfortunately, there wasn't really an end to the Glacial Drumlin Trail. I was kind of hoping for some sort of closure to my 52-mile ride on that trail. Anyhow, it was a good morning, easy navigation, and I think I've earned myself a lunch somewhere, so on to that.
Immediately upon entering into Waukesha, it is clear that this town is proud of its guitar heritage and wants to make it clear that this is Guitar Town, USA. This designation is largely tied to the fact that guitar-making icon Les Paul was born in Waukesha in 1915. He would go on to create his namesake guitar in 1952, and this solid-bodied electric guitar paved the way for so much of the rock and roll sounds in the years since. Les Paul died in 2009 and was buried in Waukesha. In 2012, the city unveiled 15 guitar sculptures, each uniquely decorated and over 10 feet high. They are scattered about the downtown area and add a unique dimension to this mid-sized Wisconsin town. After checking out Waukesha, it is necessary to navigate east a few miles to get to the trailhead of the New Berlin Trail. The New Berlin Trail is a 7-mile paved trail that runs from Waukesha to the Milwaukee County line. It is on a former railway right-of-way and is currently the pathway for large electrical lines. As such, there are virtually no trees and nearly full sun exposure along the entire trail. Road crossings are relatively frequent as the trail runs through increasingly populated areas as the outskirts of Milwaukee are entered.
So the New Berlin Trail, it's basically just an electrical line trail. You're just running underneath electrical lines, passing power stations or whatever that is. So it's good in that it's a trail and you don't have to navigate, but not the most scenic. It'll get me there.
The positives of the trail are that it is paved and the pedaling is generally easy while traveling directly east and eliminating the need to navigate. However, the trail definitely lacks interesting scenery and any sense that you are riding on a remote trail away from the fast pace of everyday life.
I've reached the end of the New Berlin Trail, and the best thing I could say is it's a good connector between Waukesha and the edge of Milwaukee. 8 miles, full sun exposure, under electrical lines. It's paved, so it goes pretty quick. But yeah, not too scenic. So now I just got to go a couple blocks over, catch the Hank Aaron Trail, and that takes you right to Lake Michigan into Milwaukee. So on to the next part.
The New Berlin Trail ends at 116th Street, which is a sign that the ride has entered into the street numbering system of Milwaukee. Downtown Milwaukee is where the numerical numbering system begins, and the streets will get lower in number as you get closer to downtown. Heading a few blocks north on 116th Street brings the ride to the Hank Aaron State Trail. This trail was dedicated in 2000 and is named after Milwaukee Braves legend Hank Aaron, who played for the team between 1954 and 1965 before the franchise moved to Atlanta. The Hank Aaron Trail runs for over 10 miles from Lake Michigan to west of Milwaukee. The ride in this point of the ride is about 8 miles.
You know, I really like the Hank Aaron Trail. It's just goes straight east into Milwaukee or west out of Milwaukee, whichever way you look at it. It's fairly shaded, smooth, goes right past the Brewers Stadium. So anyhow, this is a good conclusion to this ride from Madison to Milwaukee.
The trail goes by the Milwaukee County Zoo and the Wisconsin State Fair Park. This expansive site has been home to the Wisconsin State Fair since 1892, which is held annually over 11 days in late July. Before reaching the baseball stadium of the Milwaukee Brewers, the trail passes through the Milwaukee Soldiers' Home Historic District. This area was established in 1867 after the Civil War to house disabled veterans. It is filled with interesting buildings that reflect architecture and brickwork that is emblematic of construction from the 1800s. The site is used for veteran services to this day and is worth taking a detour off the trail to check the site out. Directly beyond the Soldiers' Home Historic District is American Family Field, home of the Milwaukee Brewers. This stadium was opened in 2001 and was known as Miller Park for its first 20 years. The signature feature of the stadium is the only fan-shaped retractable roof in the United States. The exterior contains a Brewers Wall of Fame and statues of the most legendary franchise figures, including Robin Yount, Hank Aaron, and Bob Uecker. The portion of the Hank Aaron Trail beyond American Family Field runs along Canal Street and feels more like a sidewalk than an actual riding trail. A highlight of this stretch is the towering Potawatomi Hotel and Casino, owned and operated by the Forest County Potawatomi, whose ancestors once lived, hunted, and traded along the rivers that run through Milwaukee. Beyond the Potawatomi Casino, the Hank Aaron Trail runs straight into the Harley-Davidson Museum. This one-of-a-kind attraction sits amidst a sprawling 20-acre campus that is meticulously manicured and surrounded by water. Formerly an industrial site, the site now features a museum with over 450 motorcycles, multiple Harley-Davidson-themed stores, and a lively bar and restaurant. In the center of it all is an impressive sculpture called the Hill Climber, of a man dramatically riding a vintage Harley. Whether a motorcycle enthusiast or not, this site is worth a closer look. Follow the signs for the Hank Aaron Trail to downtown, and the path goes to street riding and goes over the Milwaukee River via the Water Street Bridge. Take a ride onto Erie Street, which runs along the Milwaukee River on one side and the Summerfest grounds on the other. As the Milwaukee River meets Lake Michigan, the Hank Aaron Trail runs under the iconic Hone Memorial Bridge, with its expansive yellow arches. Just ahead is the Red Pier Lighthouse. The 40-foot red lighthouse has been in operation since 1906 and has been a key navigational tool for boats entering Milwaukee Harbor for well over 100 years. Riding beyond the lighthouse brings the ride into Lakeshore State Park, which begins the final approach into downtown Milwaukee. Opened in 1991, this 22-acre natural landscape sits between a lagoon and Lake Michigan and is a circular path that goes through prairie grasses, wildflowers, and rocky shorelines. Lakeshore State Park is exited via an arched bridge that brings the ride past Discovery World into a lakefront trail that passes by the Milwaukee Art Museum. This structure was designed by Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava and opened in 2001. It is instantly recognizable by its wing-like structure that opens and closes twice daily. Typically, the wings slowly open at 10 a.m. and fold back up at 4 p.m. Getting from the lakefront path to street level can be a bit cumbersome. However, it was necessary for me, as I wanted to go through downtown and end the route on the Milwaukee RiverWalk and at my personal favorite landmark in all of Milwaukee. This brought me by the impressive Milwaukee City Hall. Built in 1895, and at 350 feet, the tower was the tallest structure in Milwaukee until the 1970s. The building mirrors the triangular lot on which it sits, and the ornate details of this building from top to bottom are worth a closer look when riding by. The four corners of the tower are adorned with turrets that strongly resemble German beer steins, a nod to Milwaukee's brewing dominance in the late 1800s. Across from City Hall sits the Pabst Theater, commissioned and paid for by Captain Frederick Pabst in 1895. The founder of Pabst Brewing wanted to give Milwaukee a first-class European-style theater, and the Pabst Theater has done just that for over 125 years. The Milwaukee RiverWalk is just steps from the Pabst Theater and marked the conclusion of this 90-plus mile ride from Madison to Milwaukee. As I rode up, the Bronze Fonz was giving me a two-thumbs-up salute for a great day of riding.
That's a wrap. Madison to Milwaukee. And the most famous site in Milwaukee, the Bronze Fonz. To which I give, and the ride, thumbs up.
The route in this video is just one segment of a mini bike tour that traveled from Chicago to Madison, and then Madison to Milwaukee, and back to Chicago. Be sure to check out the accompanying videos that detail the ride from Chicago to Madison, and the other one from Milwaukee to Chicago. All great rides between great Midwestern cities.